Let's, here we go. Hello, everyone. This is Rosalind Henderson, and I'm the host of the podcast, Beyond Self Care Basics for Educational Leaders, where we're looking to help our educators stay in the profession. And we do that by way of giving them helpful practices, new ways of thinking that is going to mitigate their toxic stress. And today I am very excited because I have a newly retired principal friend with whom I'm going to have a deep conversation with on the topic of course, self-care as a professional. Principal, what do you do when you've lost your why? What do you do when you lost your why? When that sense of purpose and sense of meaning is ebbing? What do you do? Well, this is Kym Burris. Hello, Kim. How you doing today?
Hi, Rosalind. I'm doing great. Thank you.
And so, Kim, I just want to ask you to introduce yourself. You've been a principal, or now, like I said, newly retired principal, but you were a principal for how many years?
So, I was a principal for just over 4 years. I opened up the school, K-8 school, right when COVID was just about to come to an end, and they allowed us to go back to school. And so that was a very interesting time. And so that would have been sometime in like 2020, late 2020.
Okay, but you were
Yeah.
an educator for how long, all in all?
So technically, I've been an educator for 32 years, but I started as a long-term sub, and I count those years because we know that when we're in classroom with kids, every minute, every day, every month and year counts. So on paper, it's 30, but with in the field of education, 32.
Wow, that's fantastic. What would you say is your greatest accomplishment as a principal?
My greatest accomplishment as a principal, I think that I think timing is everything, and I think that nothing is an accident. And so, as I shared, I opened this school right for the end of COVID. And prior to me becoming the principal, um, there were some things that had occurred. And so the staff was somewhat fractured. And I think that this is what I was told, of course, and that they really needed a principal and a leader that was going to come in and understand just kind of how to bring people back together. And then when you couple that with COVID, now we've got people that have been home for almost 2 years. Um, and of course, no one really knew what to expect. And so being able to be that principal, to come in and support the staff uh, based on what had occurred prior to my principalship there. And then with COVID, there was a great need for a lot of patience, a lot of compassion, and a lot of work toward building people up and helping them to kind of reacclimate themselves to the school environment, as well as to build relationships again across the campus.
Wow. And that's really big, I think, as a principal that I have seen and witnessed that you do very well. And I'm going to assume that was part of your why, because I think that in order to get initiatives and projects, going and being successful, you have to be a people person. You have to be able
Absolutely.
to motivate people, to get them inspired, to get levels, groups of people behind you. You need the parents behind you. You need the staff behind you. You need the children behind you. That's a real difficult task. So, what were some of your whys in being a principal? What were some of your whys? The reasons why you did it? It helped you to get up every morning to get to campus and to be the powerhouse that you were.
So I think that just fundamentally, the person that I am, begin from the very beginning. I went into education because I had a passion and a desire to have an impact on kids. And eventually, as I moved up the ranks and became an administrator, and I was an assistant principal also for 4 years prior to that, the need and the desire to want to have an impact, a greater impact on not only students, but also teachers and also our system at large within the school district, as I really felt it was important for me to um, develop my skill set so that I could have a greater impact and I could kind of, so to speak, cover more territory so that I could impact not only our students, but their families, as well as the school community, and particularly our teachers and our support staff. And so I am a people person, and I know that the work does not get done without the people. And the people can't do the work unless they feel supported. And knowing what that feels like coming through the ranks as a teacher, it was very important to me that I provide that support that is so needed. It is hard work. It can be very stressful work. Um, and we know that it is essential work. And so I wanted to make sure that I was able to do that. That's what brought me joy. That's what excited me about the work. And so that's what I endeavored to do, was to make sure that I could be there to support the community, in addition to all of our students.
Well, when I came through your school, I did notice uh, this is very pleasing to me, some of the things, activities that you had going on at the school, which really made your school just singled you out for me. Because I didn't, there's a lot of programs. So I'm just going to ask you just for a 2-second brag on a cup, specifically on maybe some programs that you
Mhm.
installed at the school that you're most proud of.
So when I first arrived at my school site, over the last 4 years, when I first arrived there was already a music program in place. Education Through Music Los Angeles, they have an amazing program and they were partnering with the district. But I knew that it was essential that we grow that program, especially because of that time period that we were dealing with all of the uncertainty of COVID, and then the reopening of schools, and then just the climate in general. To give kids another outlet in the arts, I knew it was going to support the other side of the brain, of course, right? We know when kids are using both sides of the brain, it helps them to grow academically, and also just enriches their experience. And so what I did along with the leadership team at my school site was I invested over $7,000 in new instruments, working very closely with the facilitator of the Education Through Music program, and we bought several instruments and built a program out where kids would have music every day, but then we would also have a special program for kids that really wanted to focus in on learning how to play an instrument. And we were very strategic about that. We started in the middle grades. Um, the school where I was principal went from kindergarten, actually preschool, all the way up through 8th grade. So we started in third, fourth grade with the intention that these students would continue every year. And by the time they left in the 8th grade to go to high school, they would have had 4 solid years of learning how to play their instrument of choice. So very proud of that. And also, we offered choir. We offered with an amazing music teacher, Mr. Dominic Masticato. And so I'm very proud of that because I know that that helped to enhance the experience of our students, but also it was clear to me that our families were very excited to have a school where we were able to offer that to our kids. So
Wow.
that was one of those programs that I built on. And also, I would say, now I have to give credit to many of our teachers in the upper grades, but our AVID program, so we have some very senior teachers at the school where I worked, and they were very excited, and I'd say grades 5 and up, to implement AVID which is a college prep program. And I'm very familiar with the program because as a teacher and instructional coach, I attended many, many, many trainings and workshops. And so I knew the impact and the effectiveness of having a college prep program that would change the mindset of our students beginning in kindergarten and to really help establish what does it look like to be a college and career ready scholar.
Yes.
And so just building on that program. And so they continue to do that now. But I was very happy to continue building on it. And so it was a slow, I'd say we were going very slow to go fast, but I wanted to make sure that we continue the implementation of that program with the support of our leadership team, but also of the district.
Wow, Kim, that's a lot. Uh, really needed. And let me just throw in, I know that academically, you're one of the top performing schools, especially in the area of math, that, you know, your school is a very top performing school. So this is a lot accomplished, you know, in just, you said 4 years of principalship. And that's simply amazing. Now, let's shift a little bit because
Mhm.
these great achievements sometimes come at a big cost to you personally, to you physically, emotionally, mentally, because the job is very difficult
Mhm.
to do. Sometimes you're working with a lack of resources or monies, and maybe there's politics happening or other things, difficult staff members, you name it, and parents. And this is something you have to interact with almost daily. You never know what your day is going to look like as a principal. You have to be very, very adaptive. So my question for you as you come into this principalship, what were some of the challenges to you on those different
Mhm.
levels with the toxic stress?
Well, Rosalind, I think that, let me say this also. I mentioned two programs, but there were many programs that were initiatives that were mandated by the district. Um, and then there were those things that, as a school site, we decided we wanted to make sure that we had in place to support our students and our families. And so when you have so many initiatives and you want to be faithful to all of them because you're being asked to do these things, that's where it can become very stressful. And when you're trying to do so many things, often it's difficult to do all of them really, really well, right? Because we're spreading ourselves really thin. But having said that, we had a few other initiatives and partnerships with Solution Tree was one of them. We had coaches, and I opted in for these things. Honestly, we were asked, "Do we want to do these things?" And I knew that that was going to provide some support to myself and my staff to deliver the best instructional program possible. Um, but with all that comes a lot of meetings, a lot of planning. And so that pulls you away from a lot of the daily work that you need to be doing to ensure that families, students, and teachers and support staff are actually getting the support they need on a daily basis. And you can't ignore those things. So that's when it can become very stressful
And
because you can't do everything.
might I add, you did not have a VP.
No, I did not. So, to be fair, the district did provide an assistant principal part-time for part of my second year. No, the third year. But I had to share that person with another school site. And because of numbers of students, this person was with me for 2 days and they were with the other school for 3 days. The numbers weren't that different, but unfortunately, I only had them for 2 days. She was amazing. What she did provide was, extremely supportive. So I'm grateful for that. But I would say that overall, it just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. You really need to have someone there on a daily basis that can help deal with a lot of the discipline issues, to deal with concerns that parents have, rightfully so. You want to make sure you're always available to at least get back to parents in a timely manner. And when you are a sole administrator, you often are not able to get back as quickly as you would like to. And I would say that that was often, that was like the Achilles heel for me because I know as a parent, I've raised children of my own, I have grandchildren. And when you reach out to the school site, you want to hear back,
Yes. Yes.
right? And so I did the best I could, obviously, to make sure that I was communicating. But what does that mean? Now you're spending hours after work making those phone calls. And so I was often calling parents at 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night to make sure I got back to them. And did it as quickly as I possibly could. So again, when there are so many things on the table, you often feel like you're juggling. I would often say precious china because you don't want to drop it. You don't want to break anything. And so that can create a lot of stress.
How many hours a day were you working?
I worked, well, 5 days a week. Obviously, I was there Monday through Friday. And then I was often asked to attend events, district events on a Saturday.
Yes.
And I did attend most of them because I thought it was very important to have representation from my school site. And I had some teachers that were always very helpful and supportive, and they would come and also support. I was blessed to have the most amazing community liaisons. So I had two during my tenure as principal. One of them I hired, and she was with me for the 3 years. And then the last one came part-time from one of our schools that was closing. And so she, the students, and ultimately the principal of that school ended up becoming the staff that would support that community. So I had amazing community liaisons that would come and they would help with that community piece. But yes, I worked Saturdays often. Sundays I did not work, but um, I confess that Sunday, sometime probably around 5 or 6 o'clock, that's when the Monday morning blues would hit me,
Sure.
right? You start thinking about, okay, what am I going to be faced with on Monday morning? And so, unfortunately, Sundays were not always days where I was really at peace with just being present in the moment and enjoying my Sundays
Yes.
because I had to concern myself with what was my Monday and my week going to look like as I approached it.
So can we say that somewhere around 50 hours, Monday through Friday, sometimes additionally on
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I worked, 40-hour weeks and then I would give up Saturdays often. And, my days would sometimes begin at 5:30 in the morning because of shortages in support staff, I would often be on the phone at 5:36 to ensure that I had custodians to open my school.
yes.
And
Yeah.
I certainly didn't want teachers who arrived to work early to not be able to get into their classrooms to prepare. And I had some amazing teachers who would do their due diligence to get to work early, and they want to be in those classrooms before kids arrive so they can prepare their lessons. And so that became stressful because I'm worried about how teachers are going to be able to prepare to impact student instruction. And that means that I have to make sure that the custodial team is there to open the schools, which
Mhm.
mean I had to be in contact with the lead who helped to manage all school sites to ensure that we had adequate coverage. And
Yeah.
that happened often enough,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know.
Wow.
Yeah.
So at what point or what year did you have an epiphany? Look, I don't know if I can keep up with this impossible pace.
I think my second year, I came to the realization that, first of all, it was sink or swim, and that I probably would not get the support that I needed. Although I did receive some supports, there was obviously more support needed in order to make sure that things were being addressed that were very important to the school day. Um, and so I had to come to the realization that, okay, Kym, you're going to have to, first of all, lean more into your leadership team. You're going to have to delegate more.
Mm.
And then you're going to have to adopt the attitude that you're going to do the best you can. And that's all you can do
Yeah.
is the best you can. And as long as I'm doing the best I can, there's not much, what else can you do? But also reaching out to people for the support I needed when I needed help in the moment, or when I anticipated something that was coming that I knew I'd need help with, then reaching out and having the forethought to ask for help and support so that whenever these things would happen, I knew I would have people in place so that things would run smoothly.
So would you say at any point that the toxic stress led to burnout, which may have gotten
I would
you?
say eventually, Rosalind, I had to do a lot of self-talk. I had to start listening to podcasts that inspired me, leadership podcasts, many conversations that you and I had because of the work you do, to really begin to understand how to make shifts in my thinking and what I could do, because I came to the realization that I only had but so much bandwidth, and that was actually normal.
Yes. Yes.
That the brain can only function to its full capacity when you are taking care of yourself.
Yes.
And so I had to reel it back, and I had to start doing things that really um, lent itself to caring for myself first. So, making sure I was getting adequate rest, and making sure that I was eating properly, and making sure that I was dealing with stress in a constructive way. And also being honest, because as a leader, you are an example. I know I was not the only one feeling this. I know my teachers were feeling it as well. I know that support staff feel it as well. It's contagious. And so being honest with them and being transparent with them, allowing them to express that by sharing that, I'm also dealing with, it's stressful for me too. That, I'm not a superwoman. I'm a human being, and I am uh, trying my best to do uh, this job well. I need the support of the staff and also the community. Um, and we'll work together to get through this, and giving space and time for people to just really be more conscious and aware. And so I had to start doing that because I felt the burnout coming,
Hmm.
and I could feel it in my body. And it was showing up in just not being able to sleep at night,
Okay. Yes.
um, with, high anxiety, because of concerns about either things that were happening that I was trying to figure out how to resolve, or just the amount of things that were on the table that needed to be addressed on a weekly and daily basis, and making sure that there was coverage, because it was, a K-8 school is like almost two schools in one.
True.
And so, making sure that I was exercising,
Mm.
because, as we get older, the body starts to break down. And if you don't take care of the body, then it's going to break down. That's just natural as well. And so I could feel it coming, and I had to make some decisions. But I knew that um, age and years mattered, because if one's going to leave, either you're going to leave and you're going to go work somewhere else, or you're going to retire. You got to make sure you're retiring and that you can afford to take care of yourself and your family.
Yes.
So I had to wait it out. But
Yeah.
I knew that in the waiting it out, I had to be very strategic about how, how I did this, and I had to make sure I took care of myself. So quite honestly, I maintained my integrity around the work, but I stopped letting people dictate my value. And I had to remind myself every day that you're going to do the best you can. And it doesn't really matter what other people think of you, Kym, as long as you know you've done your best.
Wow. You know, what I like about what you're saying is that not all principals, not all teachers arrive where you landed, with the epiphanies and being able to walk out the epiphanies, because the messages sometimes just are so much part of teaching that you're supposed to wear that super cape. You're supposed to have the S on your chest. They're still about pleasing the district and
Absolutely.
the others around them, the teachers, to such an extent that they burn out and they never get the message. So I am so pleased that you were able to step back, that you were able to reflect, that you were able to strategize and see what
Hmm.
was working, what's not working. How can I survive this principalship and still do a wonderful, spectacular job at the same time? So that gets me very, very excited. If teachers and administration if they could learn those lessons in a toxic work environment, then just maybe they could stay instead of leave
Yeah,
the
yeah.
profession.
You know
Because
what I'll add to, Rosalind? I think the workplace can be toxic, absolutely. But I think toxicity is also, it's a perspective, right? If it's a perspective. So if you become aware of what is really happening to you and you understand your true value and you begin to create those boundaries so you can maintain your health, you can maintain the integrity and the fidelity around the work, because being an educator has been the most profound thing that I've done with my life, and it's where I've spent most of my life. I was an educator more than half my life, and so it's very important to me that I finished at least that work in that capacity, feeling really good about myself, and even the challenges of the work. I knew that it was an opportunity for me to grow,
Mhm.
and so I want to believe that it no longer was toxic in that sense anymore because I was using it as a platform to better myself.
Yes, yes.
I think
So,
recognizing that it can get toxic if you don't do something about it,
mhm.
right? And if you don't go to the doctor and you make sure your body's in good shape, if you're not exercising, getting rest, eating well, and being honest about what's really happening, it will become toxic. But if you do those things, then it becomes challenging. And then you should be able to gauge with those boundaries in place. When have you arrived at a place where you know enough is enough?
Whew. Kim, so much that you said in your statements. I truly believe that some of this, you arrived at a place where you pretty much said, look, I'm not going out like that. You came to a place, Kim, where you valued yourself
Absolutely.
enough to say, boundary time. This is what I'm going to allow in my life. This is what I'm going to disallow in my life. This is what I'm going to say yes to. This is what I'm going to say no to. And I
Absolutely.
think that what I have found in working with a lot of teachers and even with principals and I have found that a significant portion of them need to build that esteem, need to be able to value themselves in a way where no comes out of their mouths easily. Instead of being people pleasers
Yeah.
to the point where we're just giving till there's nothing left, or being dominated by fear. Will I lose my job? Will there be repercussions if I say no? All of those things that I think sometimes are dynamics that does influence the behaviors of our teachers. So
Yeah.
what you're saying is so important.
I think you're making a good point because I think in my experience, people do operate in fear a lot. In general, people just in general, not even just in the educational field, but in general, we all have a lot of fears. And so that's why it is so important that you have to do the work on yourself because I found in that capacity as a principal or administrator, instructional coach, and even teacher, and I've been in all those roles. When you are fearful, that in itself just brings on stress
Yeah.
because the fear of the unknown, the fear of what do they think of me, the fear of am I going to lose my job, and the fear of am I going to be written up. There's so much fear. So I think as a leader, it's so important to be honest and open and transparent with teachers and staff. And I don't think you can even avoid it. There are going to be people that are going to bring that fear regardless because of their own background, their own trauma, their own issues. But as a leader, you have to do your best to help them understand that, we all have a job to do and we have to try to do our job well. And there are some people that you have to help them understand that this is not the job for them, right? But I don't think that we absolutely should not be cultivating a culture of fear. And I saw a lot of that over the many years that I've worked for the school district. And so I don't know that we could get rid of it, but I certainly think that as leaders, administrators, we have to be honest about that, and we should never operate from a space of, I'm the authority here.
Yes.
I'm the boss. You need to fear me because of what I can do to you. That is absurd. And unfortunately, there are people that operate that way. And so I think that was probably a big lesson for me. Now, I don't come from that space, even though there may be people that may have felt that way, but I recognize that people are there and we have to do everything we can to help them to not be in that space if we can.
I believe in working with you and being part of your school. And I do believe this is a leader's responsibility. Again, we're talking about boundaries for yourself, but boundaries also at your school. This is your staff. What are you
Right.
going to allow or disallow in the culture? And
Absolutely.
when I walked into your school, I felt like it was a safe place. And it's a safe place because you are open and honest with the staff. You are listening to their input. You're listening. You have to make the final decision, but you are
Mhm.
listening to them. So they have buy-in, uh, I believe, as a result. So
Mhm.
I think that's really a critical job that a leader needs to add to the already huge list of things to do is creating a culture where innovation can happen, great work can happen, and where there is less and less fear. And I think that you accomplished that pretty well in working with you. That's what I saw. Um, Let me ask you
Mhm.
this question. Was there a point in which you started your whole why began to get a little bit shaky, or your why
Yeah.
was not clear in the process of dealing with all this stress?
Well, I don't think my why ever got shaky. I think that I've always been clear about my why because I actually love doing what I do. And I had to come to terms with also, I think in your book, you talk about identifying yourself with the position, right? And so I realized also that being a principal or a teacher or an instructional coach, this is what I do, but that's not who I am. And so it's a position that has a title that goes with it. And within that title, there are responsibilities. Whatever the title is, you have a responsibility. But that's not who I am. So my why never really changed. I still have a passion for education.
Mhm.
And I'm still excited about why I have that passion. I'm a grandmother now, and I have a granddaughter that I'm caring for as my daughter studies to become a nurse. And my why is now transferring over while I can to supporting her education and going to her school and supporting her and that in that environment and those children and that staff and that principal who I saw today who said, "How does it feel to be retired?" And I said, "Well, I said, my mind is very clear about it, but my body's still trying to catch up with it because I'm so used to being very busy every day." So I just think your why, and if when people lose their why, I think it's so sad. But I haven't lost my why, and I know my why is kind of like my compass to like what I'm going to do next. I'm still going to work with kids. I'm still going to work with families. I'm still going to support educators. I'm just going to do it in a different capacity, and I'm still excited about it.
Yes, yes. I think that that why is so important to us because it is part of our identity. It's that why it's part of my value system. It's
Exactly.
the thing that gets me up in the morning. It's the thing that I'm going to defend no matter what kind
Right.
of pushback I'm going to get. I'm going to defend my why. My big thing was keeping kids safe. The way my students came to me is the way I wanted to return them back to their. So anytime there were
Absolutely.
safety issues at my school, I noticed that I would get in, really upset. That's how I began to realize this was my issue is how can I keep my kids, these brown kids, safe
Absolutely.
under me, under my leadership. So we all have those passions. We just need to discover them and hang on to them because that is part of who we are. And once you lose that, you're floating.
Yeah.
And
I would often say, Rosalind, it's not about me. None of this is about me. And I am a servant leader. I don't have any problem serving people on any level. I served my custodians. If something needed to be done and I didn't have enough people to do it, I don't have a problem grabbing a broom and a mop, a dustpan or a mop, and I did that many a times. Covering classes. I covered classrooms for teachers that couldn't be there, whether they were running late or they were absent. My supervision aides, being out there with them as much as I could be out there with them. But the point is supporting wherever I could support, because ultimately it's about the students. It's
yeah,
about the students.
yes,
So, I agree with you. Like you, I wanted to return the students to their parents the same way, if not better,
yes,
because our job is to also help cultivate and build them up and return them better. And from the time they come to you at the beginning of a school year in August and the time they leave us in June, they've grown by a couple of inches. They're a whole nother year older. And we hope and pray that they know more than they knew when they started, and that
yes,
they're happy and that they like school. And that was important to me. And that they feel safe. And when you can't deliver on those things, for me, it was very disappointing. There were times when I felt I wasn't able to deliver everything. And there were some things that were beyond my control. But, we do the best we can. And that's why we got to hold on to the why so we don't give up.
absolutely. Think about who you were when you first started this, maybe year one of the principalship. Think about how you've changed as a leader,
Mm.
and can you kind of define and share with us some changes that you've made as leader? What's made you you ended on a very powerful note as a leader. What were Give me a compare and contrast on that.
Well, when I started in this position as principal, I was so excited because, on a very personal level, it was important for me to achieve the things that I had aspired to do with my life, because I was a single mom. I started teaching when my children were very, very young. They were all of 2 and 5 when I started teaching. And I was a substitute teacher. I was exploring the possibility of becoming a teacher. A close family friend, and really relative, she's like a family relative, who also worked for the same district. She said, Kim, you should try subbing because I think you'd be a great teacher. And I said, I'm gonna give it a try. So I did all the things you have to do to prepare to do that. And I became a sub. And at my first school, with a principal who just adored me and who I adored. And she nurtured me. And I was all of 29, 30 years old at the time. And she just took me in under her wing, cultivated me. And then there were others that also did the same. And I began to grow, but I was green, right? And, but something about being a mom, because I know I'm a good mother. And so working with children, I realized, especially middle school, it takes a certain kind of person to work with middle school kids.
Yes.
And that was my niche. 12 and 13-year olds, 11, 12, and 13-year olds. There was just something about that age group that I just was able to connect with them in a way. And maybe it was my passion because middle school kids, it's a transition for them. They need a lot of guidance, a lot of direction. And so I knew how to do that. I knew how to give them structure. I knew how to lean in and get in the face, and make sure they get it right, but also do that with a lot of love and care. So there was a lot of balance. You don't realize that you have these gifts, right away. You just do what you do. But I knew that it was a godsend because I was just trying it out. I wasn't sure that this is what it was going to be my career. And it's like God sent me mentor after mentor after mentor, opportunity after opportunity, and even opportunities to make additional money because when you're starting out, you don't make a lot of money. But I had all these opportunities to not only make money, but also to grow as a leader. And there were people that saw that in me. And so 13 years as a teacher, and just all the training opportunities. My district spent a lot of money on me,
Wow.
training me, cultivating me, seeing things in me that I didn't see in myself. And I got to a point where I realized that through my experience as a teacher, how important it is to have coaching. And I got really good at being a teacher. And I said, if I ever have the opportunity to support teachers, that's what I want to do next. And that opportunity did present itself. And I took the opportunity and became an instructional coach. For 7 years, I coached across all grade levels. Well, uh, K-8.
Right.
And and then again, I grew more. And you get to know yourself, right? You get to know your strengths, you get to know your weaknesses. Um, and you get to see what again, what you're good at.
So would
And
you say, Kim, that it is the being open to mentorship, the desire to grow, to reflect, to rinse and repeat over and over again until you get to a place of expertise? Is that the
absolutely,
process of becoming a
absolutely.
leader?
You have to be willing to be led in order to lead. You
Mm-hmm.
have to. You have to be willing, you have to be coachable in order to be a good leader. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be humble enough to just close your mouth and listen. You know, and I had some amazing mentors who were teachers, and who were also people that held higher position in the district. But you've got to be willing to listen and take time to glean from people asking a lot of questions. You also, and all of that leads to people respecting you.
Mm.
I
That's
mean, because I think we all want to be respected, but you really you have to respect people, you have to respect yourself in order for you to earn the respect. And I am certain that I was respected by my peers. That was very clear to me.
wow.
And I do believe that that level of respect came from my humility and my ability to listen, which is part of that, right? Because I really wanted to grow. If you're going to come into my classroom and show me something, and we're going to work together, I was always open to that.
Wow.
So, yes,
Wow.
to leaders, to be an effective leader, you have to be willing to do those things.
Well, I have a couple more questions that I want to ask you, and then I want to respect your time. And I know you're retired, and you've got a plate full of things to do. So
Well, I'm certainly filling my plate day by day as I get used to being free to do what I want to do, free to be me.
yes, yes, yes. So back to self-care. What
Yes.
daily or weekly practices keep you grounded? We're all different, but what things resonate with you in terms of mitigating stress?
Well, I'm starting my day now with I don't talk a lot in the morning.
Mm,
Not a lot of talking. And I'm teaching my granddaughter the same because she wakes in the morning. I wake her in the morning, and I said to her even today, I said, the reason why I don't talk to you in the morning, other than waking you up, is because we both need time to recalibrate. And so I'm waking in the morning with saying very little and just really focusing on how I feel. How do I feel today? Is there anything bothering me? How does my body feel today? You know, um, Telling myself things like, make sure you breathe, Kim, you got to breathe.
mm.
And then just claiming my day. Today's going to be a good day. And again, I share that with my granddaughter every day. Today is going to be a good day. And as a woman of faith, because today is the day that the Lord has made, and we are going to rejoice in this.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell my granddaughter. She learned that when she was in preschool, so she knows exactly what the next line is. But I tell myself that too. You got to claim the day. And so, but once I'm up and going, then I usually log on to my phone, but I'm intentional about it. So I find a morning prayer, or I'll find an inspirational video or something that really builds and edifies my soul. And I'll listen to that and I'll repeat things I hear out loud to myself that resonate with me so I can own it. And so what I've recently begun doing now is creating a schedule because we must keep moving physically. We have to exercise. So if your body's not healthy, I've said it before, it is the temple in which all things have to happen. So if the body's not healthy, then we can't really accomplish the things that we set out to accomplish. So I'm going to the gym now. I tried Pilates recently and I plan to continue.
Hey,
Um, and I am making sure that I'm eating healthy. Although retirement causes us to put a few pounds on, but I could use a few pounds because I lost quite a bit of weight because of all of the activity and some of the stress. So I put on a few pounds that I'm not going to complain about, but I want to make sure I stay fit. So working out, whether it's walking, going to the gym, doesn't have to be 2 hours. I go for an hour. If I feel like staying longer, I stay longer.
nice.
And then I'm connecting with my friends and making plans and
Absolutely.
doing things that make me happy and bring me joy. And, making dates with my son, who's also an entrepreneur. So we have lunch tomorrow.
Oh, wonderful.
And so, just it's mind, body, and spirit. And you
Yes.
have to take care of all of those.
I love it. I love it. So if a principal is listening to you right now, she's on the edge or he's on the edge of burnout, what's the first step you tell them to take?
The first thing they need to do is just stop. Just stop for a minute. Just stop. And stop for a minute. If you can take more than a minute, do that every day. And when you start your mornings, even if you have to get up a little earlier, stop and take time to something I'm learning to do is connect with your breath, with your breathing.
Mhm.
Because I used to wake up and I would go immediately into, oh my gosh, what do I have to do today? I need to call so and so. I got to do this. I got stop and focus on yourself.
Mm, it's good.
And then create a plan for your day. And I would do it the day before and do it before you leave work. I had to do that trial and error. Before you leave work every day, create a plan for the next day. And obviously, you should have a plan for the week that everyone's aware of, but your own personal plan of things that you need to prioritize. That can be really challenging to do that. But I say plan because you may have to deviate. So you want to be flexible, but try your best to stick to the plan. My immediate supervisor used to say, Kim, some people are just going to have to wait. That was really challenging for me because being a people person, I don't want to keep people waiting. I want to address their issues because I want to make sure that that I'm giving good customer service,
Yes.
you know, but taking time for yourself, create a plan, try your best to stick to the plan. And when you feel stressed, go in your office and close the door. Just
Mm,
close the door, turn off the lights, and take a couple of minutes
wow.
to go back to your breath again. And I say that because I had moments where I didn't do that. And by the time I did it, I was in my office, but I was emotionally overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're overwhelmed like that, it's very difficult to think clearly. So you always want to go back to, you know, getting your footing again, right?
Wow.
And then you can go back out there and put that smile on your face. And you want to be sincere, obviously, but you have to take care of yourself and then you go back out there. So take the time to address things that you're feeling as quickly as you can. Sometimes you can't, and you're stuck in a quandary of things and it doesn't allow it. But as soon as you can get away, even if it's for a couple of minutes, do that.
Wow.
And focus on all the things we talked about. Your body is important. The things that are going to help you build up the shifting in your mind and whatever you do to edify your soul and your spirit, whether it's you know uh, going to church, reading scriptures, looking at podcasts that motivate you, whatever it is, do that. Take time to do that. And I think also, without too many things, having good accountability partner, somebody you can call that's going to be a support to you, that's going to tell you the truth, but they're also going to help you, maintain your center.
Wow. Really strong advice. Audience, listen to this lady. She's been in education for 32 years, so she knows. And so with that, I just want to thank you, Kym, for being here to really share your life, your professional and personal life with us. We got to know you a little bit more. And so now we know what to do when we lose our why and we lose our way. We know how to mitigate stress a little bit better and how to set boundaries so that we can really protect the important things, our priorities, and disallow for the things that aren't important. And with that, are there any final words that you want to add to this podcast, Kym?
Well, Rosin, the last thing I'll say is that the work of educating children and even our community, it is so essential, right? We hear the phrase, they are our future. Well, they are our future. And if we want to have a hopeful future, we have to make sure that we do everything we can to support that. But it starts with taking care of ourselves so that
Mhm.
we can be impactful. And so I just want to encourage everyone to hopefully what I had to share today will help you to be the best person that you can be and that you'll rise to be your greatest self on your journey.
And with
Thank
that,
you, Rosalind. It's been
absolutely.
exciting being here and sharing.
Absolutely. I just love this conversation. Until next time, everyone, peace and love. Bye bye
Peace
for
and love.